Alright, how y'all doing? I'm going to start, this has become like a new catchphrase. Not what I planned, but... For a while, I've had this annoying thing on my mind that I couldn't, up until today, find. Okay? So, let me take you on an adventure. I like portable devices. Portable devices that are traditionally AC devices. So, I like, for example, soldering irons. Love me some soldering. Lead-based solder is the only way to go. And I had, a while back, a USB, micro USB soldering iron. But it was a bit of a pain because you could only use it with certain power banks. Some of my power banks would just throw a hissy fit at it and it just wouldn't work or it wouldn't stay turned on. And I actually used a little like pencil USB soldering iron to repair an arcade cabinet long old time ago, and it was great. And I was kind of floating about, and a company I was kind of familiar with, I knew their stuff, right? But I didn't own many of their products. Come back onto the radar and said, "Hey yo, we've got this thing called the PinePhone, which is a USB-C. What was it, like a RISC processor based soldering iron. So it'd use all the fancy new power delivery standards of USB-C, and it was an open source soldering iron, right? And I was like, oh, that's rad. That's from the guys who do the PinePhone and the PineBook, and they have this the Pine. It's like a Raspberry Pi single board computer style thing as well, but I don't own one of those because I really like Raspberry Pis, but, and this is now tying onto the thing, right? I like the idea of the PineBook, an ARM-based laptop, full-blown laptop. So imagine the power of a Raspberry Pi, but in a pre-built laptop form. And they, as I said, they do the PinePhone. I have dribbled over the idea of an open sourcey, hackable Linuxy phone for ages. I remember a project a long time ago when the Raspberry Pi Zero came out. People were hacking together like these little like pen drivey size phones out of little homemade keypads and screens, and like they were basically like feature phones made out of Raspberry Pis. I thought that was so cool. I really wish they'd have become more of a thing. And then the company Purism, are they the guys that do the Librem 5? They started the idea of banging out a Linux-based phone. No one, it was Ubuntu. Ubuntu Canonical wanted to make the Ubuntu Touch phone. Cool idea. The idea that you could plug in, you'd have your phone, and you could plug your phone into a dongly thingy that you could plug into your screen, and then that would become a computer. You could use it like a little ARM-based desktop. So imagine a Raspberry Pi powered, or a Raspberry Pi power level device that you could just, oh, it's on my phone, hey mate, I'm just sending text messages, browsing the web and all that, and then, oh, I'm gonna type me a document, or load up GIMP, or I don't know what it is you're gonna do, and you plug in your thing, you plug it into the doobry, and you're off. You're off to the races, right? And I think Samsung do something similar now as well, like where you can plug your... I mean, Android did something like that years and years and years ago. You could plug your phone in with a... So it was the micro USB to HDMI dongle, but I can't remember the thing they used, the word they used for it, or the connection they used for it. They had that, and you could have your Android mirror onto the telly, and they binned that off, or most places binned that off. Then Samsung started making it so that you could plug your phone into your telly, and you'd have like the Android interface on your telly, and wonderful stuff. They're doing more with it now, but realistically, I was really into the idea of the Linuxy stuff. I'm also really into devices where they're not quite as you'd expect. So like, I had a Nexus 5 with the idea of running a degoogled operating system on it. So it would be Android with none of the Google services on it. So no Google Store, no Play Store, no casting, no Gmail account associated with it. Like none of that. It would have just been a raw Android phone, and I would install something like F-Droid, which is an open kind of repository. Linux guys will kind of get this groove. Linux people will understand this, where you basically have a repository of open source apps, and you can just install from there instead. And that's actually what got me into Library and Odyssey, because on my de-Googled phone, I didn't want to put YouTube on there because it was kind of against the point, and I'd have to start sideloading stuff. And well, I was like, I'm going to do everything on this phone using the F-Droid store. That gets me onto Library, Odyssey, the YouTube alternative, and that's really, I really like that phone. Super fun, mega old, but super fun to play with. And so last year, I clocked, it was sometime around last year, I was like, you know what, I'm going to buy a Linux phone. They're cheap enough. So I bought I don't know how well you can see it, because there's not much light in here. I bought a PinePhone. I bought one of the Pine guys' Pine phones. I've been following it for a while. I've been looking up their gear for a while, but I got this, as I said, the Postmarket OS edition. I can't remember what Postmarket OS was, but I think this was running like a GNOME style interface. I use GNOME. And it was really cool, you know, powered by Linux. I got the Convergence version, which has like a little bit more RAM, and that would allow you, you know, come with a dongle to plug into your telly and all that stuff. And I got it, and I started playing with it. I mean, they're only about $200. You know, it's actually quite a nice phone. Here it is next to a next to a Pixel 4a 5G model. So they're about the same size. I got it, and I started toying with it, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the setup of it. I didn't put a SIM card in it or anything, but I tried to get Convergence to work. It broke. I tried to install a few apps on it. I kind of killed the onboard install. And the cool thing with it was that I could load up a distribution from a micro SD card. So it prioritizes micro SD boot over anything else. And then I was just, after I broke the internal install, I just started using a micro SD card to load up images. I mean, I could have reinstalled stuff onto the internal memory. I won't go into the specs now. If you really want to, just look it up, okay? But I could have put stuff back onto the phone internally, but at the time, it was a bit of a faff. Like, you had to go into the command line and do all these doobly-wahs. I think at one point you had to, like, compile the operating system that you wanted to do, and then you say, like, well, what version of the thing is it? And you say, oh, I'm going to use the PinePhone, and it builds the thing, and then you flash it to the, you have to go into the command line and flash it to the thing, and I was just like, ugh. And I didn't have a full-bore Linux computer. Like, everything was chaotic at the time in my little world, and so I didn't have a big boy Linux computer. I was pretty much running off of a Raspberry Pi 4, and I couldn't get some of the stuff to work on a Pi 4. So other than kind of dicking around with it with the thing, with a micro SD card, it kind of just, one day it was in my kitchen and the in the box, and then it just disappeared. And I was like, oh, great. Well, I don't know where that is. Kept on saying I really wanted to play with it again, but never really got round to it until the Pinephone hit. And I was like, oh, yeah, the fucking PinePhone's cool. And I've been following on Library. I actually follow people who talk about the PinePhone and how the stuff has started to improve and all that kind of thing, all the different distributions that are coming out for it. And it was looking really, really cool. And I was really starting to chomp. Like, I wanted to, I was going to buy another one. Like, another one. Because when I got this, the post-market version, the Manjaro edition came out, like, what, a couple months after, I think? And I use Manjaro. I like Manjaro. So it would have been nice to have had a Manjaro logo on the back of my phone. Sad, I know, but I would have liked that. And then, so I was going to get one of those, but I didn't. And then they've stopped doing the community editions. I was just like, look, I can't find my PinePhone. I'm just going to buy another one. I'm going to buy one, and I'm going to buy a PinePhone, and they have like a smartwatch, a Linuxy smartwatch as well. I'm going to buy all of those and kind of dick around with them because they're different. There's a new toy I can play with, and the idea of having a Linux computer in my pocket that I can hook up to a telly and, you know, SSH into staff and like, I don't know, I've got IRC in my pocket, and then I've got IRC on a screen, and all I'm literally just doing is plugging in from point one to... That kind of stuff really... It's cool to me. And as I say, getting things flashed was a ball ache, and so it just kind of sat. And now I have a proper computer, and I started thinking about the PinePhone again. And they've made it a bit easier. I am missing so much stuff. I'm rambling crap, but I'm missing so much cool stuff. So many things that were going through my head at the time. I mean, this isn't actually a bad little phone. It's not very powerful by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, it's got a USB-C port on it. You can take the back off and you can remove the battery, which is nice. They just sell extra batteries if you want to buy one. The screen's not super... That's not high res at all, really. All software is beta-y, buggy, broken, fine, but... Oh, and it's got hardware kill switches in it. So if you want to, you can flip it open, take the doobly-woo out of it, you know, the battery and the SIM card and that, and there's a bunch of hardware switches in it. And you say, right, well, I don't want the phone radio to do anything. I don't want any of these things to do anything. And you turn them off, and then your phone is literally like as secure as it can be because there's a hardware kill switch to disable the radios and stuff in the phone to stop it from beaconing out whatever. You just turn them off. You just hardware turn them off. So one of the big selling points of the Librem 5 is that it has hardware kill switches to stop your device from doing whatever it is that you don't want it to do, whereas on this thing you turn it off and you hope. You know, you can't remove the battery, you just hope, you know, that it's doing what you want it to do. But with this, there are more options. Very, very cool. Anyway, time has passed since I last played with this phone, and as I say, I broke it, and getting it kind of back up and running was... So, it's different now. So, I had a look, and it actually turns out things got really different as of like September last year. So this is the Convergence PinePhone, so I have 3 gigs of RAM, and they released a program called Jump Drive. Now, I say released, there have been kind of variants of Jump Drive for ages. It's this little bootable thing, right? And for this version of the phone, they released the alpha in, September of 2020. I think I'd already killed this by then. And then they kind of started doing some more tweaks to it, you know, November. Then they started supporting the Pine tab. Yeah, here we go. It came out of alpha 8th of November. And what that is for is to allow you to flash the internal memory easier. So you put Jump Drive on a memory card. You whap it into your phone. Reboot your phone. And then it'll boot up Jump Drive. Jump Drive then says, hey, plug your phone into your computer and I will mount the internal storage as a flashable device. And then you just go into your Linux distro and you go to, like, I don't know, GNOME disks or whatever. And you download your whatever image. Right now, I mean, it came with Postmarket OS. Right now I'm using Manjaro Plasma Mobile, because they are now, I've been following this. They said that the PinePhone is going to ship with Manjaro, and so, you know, go into disks, download your image, mount this, or don't mount this, then flash the image you've just downloaded to the eMMC of the device, boop, pull the cable, open up the phone, take out the memory card, restart it, and bam, the internal memory has now been flashed with whatever it was that you wanted to do. It's not a raw build like you could have made back in the day, which was a nightmare, because then you could, like, already assign usernames and passwords and stuff like that so you could get in. Also, I had encrypted the internal storage on this thing when I last played with it, so I had to try and guess the password from, like, last year before I could mount the thing, but got in. But And so I've been digging around with it. It's so much easier to flash this thing. It's great. So I flashed it with the memory card because I already had a memory card in there, and I put on where was it? What did I say? I put on here Manjaro Plasma Mobile, and you can manually build it if you wish, or you can just use one of their little imagey majiggers, and they give you some creds to log in, and yeah, it gives you. Screwed it again. Hang on. Let go. Here you go. Look at that. Look how pretty that is. Right. So before, this thing would barely do anything. When I was using Postmarket last year, it was janky as all hell. And well, right now, I'm not going to give you a tour or anything, but this is actually. Come on. There you go. I pressed the wrong thing. So I'm still trying to figure out how this works. Right. So there you go. I'm now in. And it's like really kind of like, I don't know, like iPhone-y, Android-y-esque. So there's my app tray, and it comes with a bunch of different apps and stuff. The camera kind of works. I can't get the back camera to work. Like, it didn't work at all when I last used it, but the back camera doesn't work. The front camera kind of works. The browser is kind of cool. So there you go. Here's your browser. I don't know if it's accelerated. Probably not. So I imagine like Raspberry Pi levels of performance on it. It's a bit slow, but don't worry about it. Like I said, it's early days, software-wise. So there you go. There's my browser. If I want to close that, I can hit the little X down here. What happens if I do? Yeah. So if I hit the little... Is that the KDE logo, I guess? You hit the KDE logo, it minimizes, which is the one in the middle. You hit this little square one there. That brings up all the stuff that you've got open. And I'll close that. I've got something in my phone book. So here's, just in case anyone's curious, the phone doesn't work, at least on the carrier, because I took the SIM card out of my de-googled phone. So I'm like, well, if I've got a Linux phone running now, let's see if it works. It takes the, is it micro SIM? Nano SIM? I don't know, just get a SIM adapter or, whatever. It's the same SIM card that fits in this, I think, or the Nexus 5. I don't remember, but one of those. Nexus. Look up what the Nexus 5 uses. You'll figure out what this uses. Right. When you use the phone in this, and I won't dial out, it's like if you've ever seen one of those Lost on a Desert Island shows, and all of a sudden the radio's kind of like, and you can kind of faintly hear someone from the background, and you're like, oh, someone's getting killed, and you can't hear what they're saying, kind of thing. And they're kind of Stan Makita and Android and out. That's kind of what this is like, and sometimes you can't hang up, kind of thing. Like if they hang up, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You just force close it, reopen it. Look, the call is over. It just still says that the call's gone, kind of thing. Speakerphone doesn't work. The mute doesn't seem to work. The contacty bit in the dialer is there and shows that I have a contact, I believe. Yeah, but I can't. I can click it, but I can't read it because I've only got one, and the letter for the directory is covering the name of the thing. Here's the other thing as well. If you pull down from the top, you get a tray like you do on Android. So Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, mobile data, battery, sound, your LED on the back for your flashlight, location services, take screenshots. That all seems to the work. You can send texts. So I've tried that. So hang on, I'm gonna. Here's my phone, my smart phone. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear this, but I'll tell you what. Because I already said hi to myself from the thing. So, how are... And I was talking about like rendering issues on this screen. This one's doing the same thing. And this is Android, so there you go. It's randomly, like I've just bugged it out. So if I go here, how are you? And then... Oh, you couldn't hear that, but I'm not going to point it to you because it's got my phone number on the screen, but click it scares. Like, don't be a nub, just hit the thing. There you go. So I go in. And there you go. How are you? And I can send messages to this. And it works. Like I can send texts. You can make a call. It's just broken. Like calls will go through. You can make them and receive them. Just the audio is kind of broken. But oh, this is cool. Convergence is still broken to balls. Like that doesn't work at all. So plugging it into my screen. Admittedly, it might just be that it can't handle a 4K screen, but I plug it in and it just goes and I have to restart the phone to get it to do anything. But it's. I'm hoping it's not actually the hardware on my phone, to be honest, on the PinePhone, because I've seen some people get convergence to work, just it doesn't work on mine. But this is just so cool. You know, calculators on there, calendars on there. I don't know KDE's default apps, so like a lot of this stuff's kind of weird to me. But we've got like an app to load up all the sensors, text messages, weather apps, audio recorders. Is that maps? Yeah, just like, you know, you got your basic stuff. I haven't even looked to see about getting other apps on here. I imagine that the library is going to be kind of sparse, but it's going to be empty. But whatever. It's just cool that it works as a phone to a degree. This works, whereas a wee while ago, the idea of you is that actually just gonna say, can I? I mean, look at that. Look, it's really pretty. Look, spin it, and then it does the animations, like the fades to. You know, this kind of stuff's really cool to me. So I'm really glad I found out how just the. I don't know what you're hearing more there. The pop of the audio there. I don't have anything to. Can I? Yeah, I don't know. This is what I've been dicking around with today. So I tore apart my house. I was looking for something, and I found loads of other stuff I've lost. A load of my stuff got packed up like last year, as I say, and this kind of disappeared. And I've been thinking about it since, and because to me this is really the idea of a phone you can buy now that you can take the battery out of and do all this other fancy jiggery pokery with. The idea that I could have a dumb terminal in my pocket. I know my Android phone can SSH into stuff. I tried it on my BlackBerry because I'm currently in the middle of a smartphone social media detox. I ended up going BlackBerry because BlackBerry doesn't have many apps these days. But I really was like, you know how cool it would be to be able to SSH in and update my website from my BlackBerry? Can't do it. The app's too out of date. But the idea that I might be able to do that on here is just, that would be so cool. So, I don't know, trying to think of somewhere with some audio on it. I don't really want to go to YouTube. I wonder if I go to Bandcamp. Bandcamp.com. I mean, the keyboard's nice as well. It's quite nice to type on. You know, there you go. It's now loading up. Should now be loading up Bandcamp. Has about some alternative tunes. It's probably going to suck balls, but turn that down. Is it playing or? Website was opened in a new tab, was it? Here we go. Hit the play button on the page. As soon as I see the numbers go up, it's really quiet, but it's probably going to get really loud in it. Was that coming out of the... Yeah, it's coming out of... I wonder if headphones work. Just give me one... I haven't tried headphones. I wonder if headphones do a thing. Where's my headphones at? Oh, no. Oh, I had a really nice pair of headphones. Just fucking... Ah, there they are. 1 second. No, dropped it. Well, let's see if it survives the drop test onto a big metal plate. No, I'm getting phone call. No, wrong phone. Call the other phone if you want to get answered. Well, it is. That's fucking cool. I mean, it's a bit wobbly. But like I said, like last year, none of this worked. It's Face of an Emperor. If anyone's curious. If you're on Bandcamp. It's having a bit of trouble, but I mean... That's... To me, this is fantastic. Amazing stuff. And the fact that now, literally, I can just install the jump drive program and write to the internal flash storage. Then use another memory card, just pop in a memory card to put data on it and all that kind of stuff. So like, you know, music and all that. And eventually when the convergence plugging into the TV stuff works, that's going to be so cool. So cool. You know, to be able to use my phone to do all that stuff. If one of these, if Google hadn't have gimped their pixels, because the old Nexus phones used to... What was it? MHL? L something? I don't know. The thing where you could plug it into a screen. If they hadn't have just gimped that, it was such a great thing to have. If they'd have put that on their current phones, it'd have been amazing. But a Linux phone? Really cool. I really like it. Sorry, this is a bit of a gush fest on how I broke a phone. And because it was broke... Oh, look, it's even on the... It's on the thing. It's a notification just says there, look. That's rad. You know, the idea that this stuff is doing stuff. It works. It's... Whereas a little while ago, none of this stuff... Oh, and it's got Telegram Messenger on there, Terminal right there. So I guess I could SSH into stuff, couldn't I? This is just fucking ace. In my opinion, this is really cool. I think it's cool. I can change the battery in it and all that. It's awesome. It's not a daily driver by any stretch, but it's a fun thing to have. I'm desperately now waiting for the I really want to get hold of because like I said, I was going to buy another one, but they're out of stock. Because we've got a worldwide chip shortage going on at the moment, so you can't... I don't think they've got any on order until end of this month. But I really want to get hold of the PinePhone, because I'd like to have a USB-C powered soldering iron. And they do loads of cool stuff. As I say, they've got a channel on Library Odyssey, where you can just like check out... They've got like the Pine podcast, or whatever, the Pinecast, and you can just listen to little bits and bobs about what they've got going on, and... can I find it? Pine. Yeah, it's just at Pine64 on Odyssey. So fucking cool. Nerding out. And I've now been talking for about 30 minutes, as I say, about how I broke a phone. Couldn't be bothered to restore it because I was on a Raspberry Pi. Sorted out a Linux PC sometime later. And then grabbed the phone again, restored it, and it's fucking cool. I mean, KDE is traditionally the more pretty kind of face of Linuxy stuff, and I think that looks really nice. I'm going to dick around with apps and stuff. I really want that convergence stuff to work, though. I really do, just so I can plug a mouse and keyboard into it and, you know, type away... SSH into my server, update my Gemini capsule, and all that. That'd be so awesome. Get IRC running on it. Yes, someone can say, you're such a fucking nerd. I know. It's neat. And the fact that I can kind of make calls, I can text on it. That's awesome. Let's see if I can get Signal Messenger on there. And anything that doesn't have an app, you've still got the web browser, so you could still, in theory, access stuff like Twitter and all that. Just, you've got to use the browser. I mean, that's what the iPhone used to be. They're all web apps. Before anyone starts going, but it's not as good as... They said they never wanted you to be able to install stuff on an iPhone. You'd have to use web apps. Go into the browser, save it as a tab, bam, web app. No native apps. That was the original plan. No native apps. So why is that such a problem on that? Anyway, I haven't made my point at all, and I'm dribbling on. I was just well chuffed to actually randomly find it. I tore apart my entire house. I've cleaned up all my desk. I've dusted it all. You're not seeing it. Oh, go on. Hang on. Look at that. Look. I cleaned it. That was all. I've cleaned it. It's all there. It's all there. Just don't look on the floor down by my feet, because I've also been playing with the Quest, and you can't see anything down there, can you? Hang on. Oh, I'm breaking everything. I'm being foamed again. Ah! Look. Mess. Get on the thing. Here we go. Well, I should probably go and answer that, because I'm being really rude. Because at least they're calling the right number. So, if you ever get a chance, dick around with a PinePhone. I might actually try one of their single board computers, because I've tried loads of other companies. I've tried the Raspberry Pi, Latte Pandas, I've tried tons of them, but I haven't tried one by the guys who make the PinePhone. Maybe now's the time. I mean, I was looking into the PineBook Pro when that comes back into stock, the laptop ARM-based machine. That would be rad too. What I'd really like to have done was have run everything off of the PineBook to do stuff on the PinePhone. But yeah. Anyway, adventures in playing around with a phone that no one gives a toss about. It works. It kind of. But it's the same as when I use my Linux machine. For most people, they'd say, "Oh, that's not cool." It works. I can do my dailies on it, not with as much polish as a lot of you guys do on your, I don't know, your Mac and your Windows machines, but I'm still doing the same jobs. Just have to have a little bit more brain up stuff going on. So, hope you're well, and I'll see you all with a bit of luck in the next one. This is actually probably taking me longer than the thing I actually intended to talk about. PinePhone. Seriously, $150. Pine 64 dot whatever. I don't remember what the actual site is. Go and look it up. Check out the phone, the non-convergence and the convergence model. Like, I think it's just more RAM is the only real difference, and that you get a dongle with it. Between 150 and $200. It feels like an Android phone. If you take the case off of this, it feels like that. And it's just that now waiting for the software to catch up. And with the Librem 5 from Purism and the PinePhone hammering through, the guys from Manjaro now being the dedicated operator, because that really slows. Yes, Manjaro. I used to be an Antergos guy, to be honest, but that went away, so Manjaro became the thing. But when Manjaro they said they were going to do the Manjaro phone, as that was going to be the thing. I was like, yes. I don't know if it's going to be Plasma though as the main, but doesn't matter. Fuck yeah, the fact that I've got like effectively desktop based apps on a phone. Oh yes. Right. Hope you're well, and I'll see you all in the next one. Oh dear, and it sounds like I'm no longer needed.